Karen Frankel, of course, here with you to get you all drawing smiles. Teeth in particular is really difficult. So I guess it's not that difficult if you know a couple of small tricks, which is what I'm going to be showing you today. But added into that, the whole face changes when people smile. So I'm just going to give you some pointers towards that, things to look out for, and watch points as to how not to draw teeth, because most people really do struggle and the teeth look more prominent. The first one I want to show you is this one, of course. And the reason I wanted to show you this one in particular, first up, is because many people like to draw children. And teeth on children look even worse sometimes than teeth on adults. The thing that I want to point out mostly, and this is for everybody with smiles, and that is that this is, in case you didn't know, a great big hole in your mouth, and therefore it creates a cave, a shadow over the teeth. And you can see very, very well in that photograph, if you half close your eyes, like I always tell you, can you see that the top lip of that little boy is actually putting his teeth into shade, so that when you half close your eyes, you can certainly, when you half close your eyes, hardly even see the bottom teeth, and you can only just see the top teeth. So they are not prominent at all. They seem to be, certainly with young children, I guess, before they've, their mouths have started really taking on their adult shape. Teeth in children seem to be much, much softer, sort of falling back. But that's what I want to highlight the most, is that teeth are generally in shadow. If we're talking about, not if we're talking about studio lighting, but generally the light is from above, whether it's room lighting or the sun, of course, and because of that, teeth are in a shadow. Okay, so even with my mouth open, obviously I'm not smiling. When you do smile, however, I'm looking at my face to see what I look like, and I'm not enjoying it, but nevertheless, that's what I do. When you smile, that lip gets stretched, so it doesn't form as big a shadow barrier there, okay? So that's the first thing that I wanted you to notice, particularly on this little boy. You can see how much shadow is in his mouth. This is a very, very good example of a big, broad smile, and it's a very good example of what happens to the face. I'm going to take my glasses off to demonstrate what happens to the face when people smile. So the eyes go narrow. I have gotten into the habit of, when I smile, I try and open my eyes as well, because my smile, no, that's a bit of a making it up. I can't smile naturally. Well, I'm trying to make it up. But generally, because your cheeks move up, the eyes, right, get narrower. And she's actually closed her eyes in this case when she's smiled. You can see these creases. She's clearly a young lady, but those creases are very, very definite. They don't usually arrive until you're much older. But when you push your face up with those muscles, those creases are much, much more prominent. You can see also that her top lip has become, much thinner. I haven't seen her full lips, but again, she's young, so she probably would have much more full lips than you can see when the mouth is stretched like that. and so the whole shape of the mouth changes, and we still have a tendency to want to put a big smiley mouth. So I will be drawing some examples in a sec. Okay, so this gentleman has got a double thing happening, only because he's smiling, so of course that mouth is lifted, and his eyes are narrower, but also the angle of the camera is taken from below slightly, so we can actually see more of this part of him than that part of him. I haven't actually measured. Let's have a little measure. Yep, he's much bigger here. And by the way, when I measured that, I did turn my pencil to go across the angle on him. So I measured, trying to measure on myself. So I did turn my pencil. Hello to you, Bev. And you can see not only is he tilted up, but he's also tilted to the side. So that's changed the mouth again. Have a look at what happens when I move my head to the shape of my lips. So that's foreshortened away. That's the center of my lips. Trying to stop talking. And the lips really do change shape as the head moves. Okay, so you really need to pay attention to that. Obviously with a photograph it's much easier. You can put a grid on there, and that will help you out. There's a picture of my dad that I did a portrait of 7 years ago. And you can see he is tilting down a bit. If I put my grid on him, you can't see the full picture because it's a bit big, but he's definitely tilting down, so we can see more of his head, and you can see the shape of his mouth goes right up. He's smiling. Not only is he smiling a lot, but because he's looking down, can you see, if I put can you see that line across his mouth there? See, that looks a bit crooked in the camera. His mouth is going so high, and if I put the straight line across the top of his mouth, it's actually well over where his nose is. So the mouth, yes, it's usually below the nose when we're looking straight. Watch what happens to my mouth as I turn my head down. Hopefully that worked. So it turns up even if I'm not smiling. I want to show you the shape of the mouth. So pretty much I feel like some of these videos are a bit redundant if we knew how to observe without your brain interfering. But if you look at this lady's, I'll need to put my glasses back on again, I'm afraid. There you go, I can see much better like that. And I need to look at the big version of her. Okay, you can see that the bottom lip is going up, and I'm actually going to be looking at the negative shape between her lips to try and get the shape of her mouth. So the bottom lip is doing that sort of smiley mouth thing, but have a look at what's happening with the top lip. It's going down, isn't it? Which is, I wouldn't have thought that. So your head has got a preconceived idea that smiley mouths, I hope you can see. Okay. Move that up a little bit. Okay, that smiley mouths are, you know, all smiley like that. But they're not necessarily. Okay, so I am very careful to follow and look at the internal shape there. Okay, now another trick, another thing to definitely be aware of with teeth. So really the first thing I'm going to say to help you with drawing, and that is that the teeth disappear into your mouth round the side. So you can clearly see that on her, the teeth at the side, as they disappear into the mouth, they're going away, and you would know from previous videos with me, previous tutorials, that as things move away from you, they get less distinct. And certainly her teeth that are moving away are moving back into the shadow of her mouth, particularly on the side. Okay, so there is more light coming in from that side, because we can see more shadow on this side and more light there. And definitely her bottom teeth, once again, usually your top teeth are over your bottom teeth, and you can see her bottom teeth are in shadow. Please remember that I am in demonstration mode, so this is not necessarily going to turn out. That's my caveat, but I always trust the process. So when I was drawing the shoe last week, I was dying inside and saying, this doesn't look like a shoe, this doesn't look like a shoe, but it eventually did. Okay, on this side of her teeth, you can see that dark. Remember that I mentioned, I said called it a cave. Look how dark it is inside her mouth there. And in fact, if I look at her photograph a bit more carefully, it's not as big as that triangle that I've done there. So I'm just going to correct that very slightly, and have a look at the shape of her lip. It goes up there, her bottom lip, right? That shape there. And the top lip kind of finishes there, and it goes at an angle. But it was this dark that I was indicating there, and this dark, I've also done that dark way too big. That's because I was just filling it in to show you that there is shadow there. And you can see that there's a shadow on her gum underneath her lip. So I haven't put the top lip in there. Actually wasn't intending drawing her, I was going to draw the guy, but seeing as I'm showing you stuff, I might as well continue with this lovely lady. Okay, yes, her lip is lighter and all of those things. I'm not, and there's a highlight on the bottom lip. I don't really want to concentrate on that. For now, I just want to show you what's happening with the teeth. Next thing I want to point out about teeth, and that is part of perspective. So if the front two teeth, just making sure you can see this, if the front two teeth are dead in front, as the mouth goes away, if I'm looking at those teeth as if I'm looking down through the head like that, then the shape of your teeth is like that, right? That's the front. Okay, so it's only those front four teeth-ish, but mostly yeah, pretty much the front four on her, depending on how turned you are. She is a little turned. You can only see those front on. Let's draw some teeth on this piece of paper. Now, your teeth get smaller, a little bit smaller as they go back. And I'm not even going to make these teeth smaller. I'm just going to make it as if it's a fence line. If I show you flat, then the spaces, the width of the teeth are similar, But as I turn this away from the camera, hopefully, I can't see it yet, but hopefully the perspective of these, because they're going away from you, that will get narrower and narrower. When you're doing this mouth, don't draw head teeth which look like that. You can see with her, so I'm going to rub those out because those are definitely not going to work. You really, really need to be aware of that. And if you look at her mouth, these teeth on the side here are very narrow, right? Because they are foreshortened as they go round the side. Okay, so that's a good thing to be aware of. Hello to you, Janice. Next thing, between the teeth, so when I drew my fictitious teeth, I naturally just drew a line in the middle there. That's not where it is. So because your top teeth usually form over your bottom teeth, and your lip covers most of your bottom teeth, you can see certainly in this picture, her bottom teeth finish down at the bottom here, and her top teeth, she's got a slight gap, but her top teeth finish much lower down. And if we look at the shape of the dark between the teeth, so again we are looking at the negative shape, that will give you the hint of where these teeth are. And I am also going to look at the negative shape of her gum. And you can see up here that also allows you to see how foreshortened these teeth are. Can you see it looks like there's a little point there? And we can hardly see these teeth here. It's very dark there. Now, her bottom teeth are completely in shadow. Okay, so I'm actually going to pop that shadow in right now. And I'm going to, these teeth again are very narrow. I can see the gum going like that. Again, narrow that way because of foreshortening, not because they're narrow teeth. Now, she is quite gummy. She's showing a lot of gum. And they're quite light. And I have drawn the correct amount. Okay, at the moment, I'm not enjoying those hard lines of the gum there. I hope that you can actually see it. But more importantly is the dark between the teeth here. Can you see that I am not drawing the actual teeth? I'm not putting these lines in. So I don't know if you can still see there's a residue of the lines I had there from when I was showing you this sort of teeth in the face. But I'm not doing that now. I am just putting in, so that tooth is quite short. I'm putting in the dark between her teeth, okay? I actually think I've maybe made her mouth too wide, in all honesty. So I'm just going to change it up a little bit. Are we there yet? Don't think so. Not quite yet. Okay, so shadow under the lip. There's actually not much tone on that gum. I know that it's pink flesh and the teeth are white, but quite honestly, there's actually, there is light, in terms of how light and dark, they're as light as each other, and it's this tone here as the mouth goes back, that's actually going to bring it back. And I'm looking at the tiny vision on my screen there, and I'm quite satisfied that that's actually working. And then I'm going to make this shadow go a bit higher for the bottom teeth. I think I may have made her lip too wide. So can you see how I'm adjusting all the time? And I'm also going to put the bottom, so the other edge, the top of her bottom teeth also have got the shape of that negative shape of this dark, showing you where her teeth are. And it's very, very tiny. It's just a suggestion, okay? Because, as I said before, these teeth, I think I may have darkened it overly much. Even the top of her lip is in a little bit of shadow. Now, your brain is screaming at you that teeth are white, but really, those bottom teeth are definitely in the shade. Okay, next important thing is, and probably this is the favorite thing, my favorite thing of don't do it. And I'm going to totally ruin this to show you what not to do. Putting hard outlines on your teeth is the worst thing that you can do. I know why we all do it. It's because you can actually see the divisions on teeth really quickly, and not quickly, really clearly, and so we end up putting these strong lines on. In the actual picture, her teeth are quite forward, right? Her mouth is stretched back, her teeth are quite prominent, okay? And that makes us even more want to do this. But as soon as you do this, I promise you, what it actually does to the picture is awful. It makes the teeth go even more prominent, okay? Because when you put these strong lines on, strong lines come forward. So I've told you that quite frequently, and here you can see living proof that the strong lines, whatever you're drawing, come forward. And so what we've done, or what I've done, by adding those strong teeth there, and then some people would even go, okay, we've got to put the strong teeth on the bottom teeth as well, because in fact, on her bottom teeth, we can actually see the division of her teeth even clearer. So let's do that. And that mouth has become pretty ugly, okay? It's kind of working, but I don't think it's working particularly well. So that is my biggest watch point for you is don't draw the lines between the teeth. If you are going to draw the lines between the teeth, it actually doesn't look quite as bad as I thought it might. But if you are going to draw the lines between the teeth, make it as gentle as possible. In fact, I don't even think I can get rid of them as much as I would really like to. Even if you look at her teeth, right, the lines on her top teeth are not that prominent, the lines between her teeth. And because you've got an even amount of light covering all her teeth. If you've got somebody that's particularly got one tooth forward of another tooth, then maybe there'll be a shadow on that tooth, because that tooth will create a shadow, and you can do something like that. But by and large, I highly recommend that you don't draw those lines. You put in the negative shapes and the shading to show that it goes around. And that, in combination with These side teeth getting narrower. I haven't paid that much attention, I must admit. So the combination of the side teeth getting narrower as they go back into the mouth, and not putting prominent lines on the teeth, pushing the shadow in. So it's about noticing where those shades are. So all the things that applied to her face also applies to his face, with the added difficulty of the looking up and the turn. So we're going to tackle all of that together. Okay, so once again I'm going to start with the internal negative shape, and it goes up a little bit there and down. And if I put a line across like that on his face, I can see that this angle there is much, much lower than this, where this edge of his face is. So his mouth is absolutely turned like that, and it's quite interesting. On the screen I can see the angle of my pencil, and I can see the angle of the face, and you should be able to see that as well. The angle of the mouth, I mean. This section of the mouth is coming down much more steeply than this. This is going across like that. So the center of his mouth is actually around here, the center of his physical mouth. The center on our picture is there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the center of his mouth. In fact, the center of his mouth is probably around here, given where his teeth are. Okay? So that's that shape. I'm going to half close my eyes because I want to see where those darks are. So I'm looking for this shadow, this triangle here. Again, I think I've done it too big, but I'll be able to adjust it. But on this side, there's a lot more, and it sort of does. There's quite a heavy shadow below his top lip, even though it lightens there. But as his teeth go back into his mouth here, that is pretty dark. I may have done it a bit too heavily, I'm not sure. So I'm always looking at where is this relative to something I've already done. And I'm wondering if this is not too curved, but we can change things. That little dark goes there. Can you see I'm not drawing teeth yet? I'm forming the large areas of tone. Right, the division between his teeth is about there if I look at how far it is across here. I could be doing my measuring. I'm not at the moment. Obviously, feel free to do it. Also, if you've got a photograph, you can put your grid on top of your photograph. I didn't print those out. So I'm just working off the photograph. And I'm putting a very gentle line in there because I'm not quite sure where it is. So I don't actually want to draw those physical teeth there. And the bottom teeth are clearly in shadow, so I'm putting that shadow in right now. And that's all in shadow as well. It might not be as dark as that, but it is nonetheless in shadow. Now, I've just realized, oh, okay, I've probably put the turn of his mouth a little bit too far over there. So I'm not really worried, because for me, drawing is a process of adjusting all the time. Actually, if you look really closely, you can see the back of a tooth right inside the mouth, which is a bit weird. I'm trying not to look at the fact that they're teeth, and I'm trying just to look at these shapes. The other thing that's going on is those teeth are not straight like that because his head is turned, so they do have an angle. And if I look at the little shape of the gum, that is quite telling to give you the shape of the teeth. Even though I said earlier, and I'm still reiterating, that you're not coloring that gum in very strongly, and in fact I've probably done it too dark at the moment, but the fact that you can see those bits of gum, they are very, very helpful in showing that they are teeth in the mouth, rather than drawing your teeth that we're used to. You know, these big, strong teeth with hard outlines. These teeth here are covered by the bottom lip, so something's going on here that's not working. If this is the bottom lip, maybe I've got that too wide. I am persevering because I'm hoping that the process will help. Sometimes it doesn't, because my brain also interferes with what I'm drawing. I also want to draw big, shiny white teeth, and my brain stops me as well. I always seem to choose something very challenging for myself on these Fridays. I think I'm giving him possibly too few teeth. That's not working quite yet. Obviously the bottom shapes here need to match with the top shapes. So there's a little sort of tooth there in the shade, or is it over there? See, my finger made me draw a hard line there, but it really isn't in there. I'm hoping this is going to work as well as the previous one did. I'm probably talking too much to be concentrating on getting this correctly. I'm just waiting to see if it starts to work. Now we can't see the bottom of the bottom gum because, as I said, the lip, even in a relaxed lip, the lip covers a lot of the bottom teeth. But when you smile, that lip goes up. So even this top lip is in shadow a little bit. So the top lip is always in a little bit of shadow. That is another mouth for you. I think that has worked a little bit, not as well as the first one, but not too bad. Even with my process, it doesn't look like it's going to emerge. I follow that process. I look at the shape. If the shape's not working, I change it. If something is not working for a particular reason, then I absolutely look and try and decide why it isn't. So as I'm looking now a little bit more carefully, I can see the shape of his lip is actually going up there in a little bit of a sneer, but I've done too much dark there. So I know that I'm fiddling a bit, but I do like the challenge of following that process, the shapes of tone, I say it so often, and try underestimate things like the lines that you can see. I always underestimate those lines because they're they just don't work. And if you go back and have a look at some of your portraits, you may find that you see that you've also put in some strong lines on the teeth, and that's why they might not be working. I've only briefly mentioned the fact about how the smiling changes the face. Just little again in this particular photo, can you see how flat his eyes are? Because of the smile, it's pushing that flat. Notice those things. Don't take for granted that the measurements I gave you the other day, the proportions I gave you the other day, will be the same. Remember, that was for a straight-on face looking absolutely dead straight with no changes whatsoever. Happy portrait drawing, happy smile drawing. Lovely to have you on board again for another Friday afternoon. Karen Frankel signing out and saying, get drawing. Bye-bye.